Inspiration for my card designs can come from anywhere. A song I've heard, or something I might have seen on a walk, or even while scrolling or spending time with my family. Once I have that design idea in my head, I start thinking up funny puns, because to me, there is nothing funnier than great wordplay. This will be simmering away at the back of my mind with my gathering ideas until it's finally time to sit down and write them all out. The illustrating process is the part that takes the longest. I start with a sketch, and then only once I'm happy with this do I move on to colour blocking, creating shadows and highlights, before finally adding the thick outlines of my signature style. Each piece can sometimes take weeks, because although it's the part of my job I love the most, it's sadly the part that gets pushed down the priority list the most often. I actually started this Western design all the way back in early February when I was obsessed with Chapel Roan's Pink Pony Club. It was originally supposed to be a quick illustration that would be turned into a card with the pun, "Giddy up Valentine." But seeing as it took until mid-April to actually finish the drawing, it's had to be repurposed into an anniversary card instead. Once the illustration is finished, I send it to my G Drive as a transparent ping so I can work on it in Affinity Designer. As I always set up my Procreate boards to have a CMYK colour profile, I make sure to match my Affinity documents to this too. I always work at 300 dpi, and I use Paper Cutz 5x7 inch cardstock blanks for my finished cards, so my document size is always set to 10x7 inches. I add rectangles and resize them to 5x7. This means that I can make sure that everything is aligned correctly and just remove the rectangle when it's time to print. Choosing a commercial use font can take so long, as my workspace is filled with hundreds that I've collected over the years. This top one is actually a font I made in Procreate from my own handwriting, and I love using it on both my branding and cards. Let me know in the comments if you'd like me to show you how to create your own fonts. Sometimes the designs will evolve when I see them on the blank card template, and I literally have to go back to the drawing board when I feel that they are too plain or if something needs adjusting. When I'm finally happy, I remove any rectangle layout spaces and head to print. As I'm using the Paper Cutz amazing 5x7 inch card blanks, I need to make sure that I set the printer and the document size to 10x7 inches. As I'm using the Paper Cutz matte card today, I change to this setting in the printer and turn the print quality to high. When the physical card has been made, it's time to turn my attention to photography. I used to be able to get away with just using mock-ups for my greetings card images, as my print colours were so true to life. However, Etsy made it a rule last year that the first image of a listing must be a physical product photo unless you're selling a digital item. Luckily for me, I have a photography setup, including tripods and softboxes. Today was a pretty bright day, so I just needed the one softbox, but during the winter, I usually have to use two. The star of your product photo should be the item. Although I do sometimes include props, I like the first photo to just include the greetings card with an envelope in the background. There was a time that I would stress for hours over each listing photo and try to make it as perfect and professional as possible. I've learned, however, that with the oversaturation of AI, customers actually prefer your photos to obviously be those taken in an at-home setup. This isn't an excuse to use poor photos where product colours and details aren't accurately represented, more of a gentle reminder that spending hours on a single shot is not a good use of your time as a small business owner. When it comes to photo editing, I'm not a fan of using my phone or a tablet. I much prefer using software on my PC, like my tried and tested GIMP. I adjust the colour and brightness in GIMP as I feel it gives me much more control compared to apps. Plus, as I rocket towards 40, my eyesight is definitely less sharp and the bigger screen helps me to see the finer details. Once I'm finished up in GIMP, I open up my Etsy listing template in Canva. This is a document sized at 3000 by 2250 pixels, which is currently the Etsy size recommendation for 2025. I can drop the image into the frame and adjust it until I'm happy with the cropping. I will sometimes use the Canva photo editing tools, but I usually end up undoing and just sticking with the original GIMP edits. Now it's time to turn my attention to the mock-up photos. I have a lot of these saved in Affinity Designer, and it's a case of just dropping in and aligning the card design onto the background. I will sometimes play with transparency so the design isn't more vivid than the background and so it looks more natural. I like to have a range of mock-ups that also show the different card envelope colours available. I use eRank when building my listing title and keywords. I always used to use Marmalade until early 2018, and I can honestly say that it was what took me from a small seller to launching my business full-time. Sadly, when Etsy changed the back end of their search engine around about February 2018, Marmalade was no longer giving me the same results, and at £20 a month, I didn't think it was worth it. I now pay less than £5 a month for eRank, and I'm very happy with the results. I start by searching for terms a potential customer would use and then star them to add to my anniversary card list. I love how eRank allows you to click on these results and suggest alternatives. You can see how often they're searched for in the UK, how many times they're clicked, the click-through rate, and the Etsy competition. Ideally, you should be looking for keyword terms that are all greens, but in such a saturated market such as anniversary cards, that's not usually possible. Once I have my list, I start building my title. You're writing for a customer, not for the search engine. It should be easily read and describe exactly what you're selling with some good keywords sprinkled in. Once I'm happy with my title, it's time to start building my keywords. Now I do mine very differently to most sellers, and at first glance it looks like utter chaos. I follow Cara Bunting, a very successful Etsy seller and techie person over on YouTube. I think she's the bee's knees, and this is a method she teaches. Unless it's a super strong keyword term, you don't need to repeat it. So you'll see in this list, I don't have things like anniversary card for wife, anniversary card for girlfriend, anniversary card for her, etc. It's just anniversary card, girlfriend, wife for her. The search engine disregards duplicated words anyway, and you're just missing out on prime retail space for your keywords. The search engine sees your 12 keywords as a whole, not individual. So it scans through for words which may not even be next to each other, but it can see that they're relevant to what a customer has searched for and will place it in the search results. It's now time to start writing our description and uploading it to Etsy. I actually have an optimised template that I use for my card listings that has markers for me to add in details for the specific card I'm uploading. This contains a sprinkling of keywords and all the information that a customer needs about the cards. Customers like to know the size of the card, what's included inside the card. For example, I offer a printed message option, envelope choices, and what sort of finish the card has been printed on, along with how long dispatch times are. It's also a good idea to drop links for other items in your shop that customers may be interested in. Remember that your description needs to be both informative and engaging to read. I try to keep mine fun and light, which is always easier said than done. When copying over your tags from the keyword list, you will probably find that some of them are too long. This is the time that I start having a play around with the different words to try and make sure that I don't exceed the 20 character limit. Once I've finished adding in all of the different links and changing the description items to match the card, it's time to work my way through for the different instructions for the buyers and the personalisation options too. You need to make sure that all of this is filled in before you can actually save or publish your post. For mine, I have different envelope options and also the option to print a gift message. You need to make sure that you have a box for them to leave the message, but make it clear that they can only do this if they have upgraded. Don't forget to add in your different prices, especially if you have different variations that will cost the customers more or less. Now it's time to choose your delivery profile and start adding your photos. I've uploaded a mix of digital mock-ups and a physical photo for my card listing, and I also have a video which shows customers the front, inside and back of the card and the different coloured envelope options that are available too. I also have an infographic on my listing which just explains to customers that I am UK based and that how my designs are hand drawn. I also include photos of packaging which just helps customers be fully aware of how their item will arrive and just helps to build brand trust. It's a good idea to use alt text for all of your images. This should be a keyword or two that accurately describes what the picture shows. This can help with ranking on external search such as Google. It's also really important to make sure that these are in the correct order that you would like them displayed, and that the first image is a physical photo and not a mock-up. I'm now going to go through and make sure that everything is displaying correctly, especially the video that was uploaded. And then it's time to go through and just add in the final bits such as attributions and occasions, and just giving a cursory read through to make sure I'm happy with the description and the layout of everything that I have included before pressing the publish button. And before you know it, you'll have your first order. I like to package mine in these candy stripe bags, and I have my own in-house printed stickers using the amazing Paper Cutz adhesive sheets. To make sure that they arrive to my customers fully protected, I also use the Paper Cutz Do Not Bend C5 envelopes. I really hope that you found today's video helpful, and if you have any questions, drop them below. A great big thank you to Paper Cutz for sponsoring today, and I'll drop links to everything that I use in the description box down below. See you next time.